What's happening, Cucumber Squad, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About. Now, today we'll be talking about one of my favorite actors, Will Smith, and the whole controversy, which I'm pretty sure you guys have already heard. I wrote a little piece in terms of my viewpoints, in terms of how I see it. I find it a lot easier to sort of put this on paper, or write out my views so that I can be at least as coherent and stoic as possible. So yeah, let's get into that. So for those of you who don't know, just a couple of hours ago at the Oscars, Mr. I Am Legend waltzed onto stage like a fresh prince and proceeded to give Chris Rock a concussion because of a very mild joke that he dared to say about a lady that he is hitched with. It was a very awkward moment between the men in black because even though the joke may have been mildly insensitive, the bad boy took it upon himself to declare Jada Pinkett's Independence Day by hand-cocking Chris Rock's face, as you would in the Wild Wild West if you dared to say anything about another man's girl. To some, Will Smith is now the enemy of the state. However, to a large majority of others, he's just a man with 7 pounds of emotional baggage on his chest, acting like an iRobot in pursuit of happiness. For those of you who don't know what happened and would like to see how that all went down, well, here it is.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
I'm going to, okay?
Okay, so now that you saw that, I'm going to preface my views on this by saying Will Smith has always been and will always be one of my absolute favorite actors. Going back to when I was a child, he's in a lot of my favorite movies. I just loved him as an actor. I found him absolutely brilliant. Him and Kevin Spacey, but we all know how how that whole saga went, so let's not even go there. He's a super charismatic, unbelievably talented and versatile actor, on top of actually being an overall nice guy. I'm pretty sure a lot of you would share that exact sentiment. However, that does not shield him or make him immune to criticism, most certainly not mine, at least. The way he comported himself at the Oscars was pitiful, shameful, reprehensible, at least it was to anyone with anything but a rattle toy between their ears and who possibly possesses the slightest modicum of common sense, decency, and rationality. Now, what would drive an educated man who overtly has an IQ and EQ that is somewhat on the respectable spectrum, might I add, to get up and act like an Italian mafia boss who has just heard that his lackey broke his spaghetti before cooking it? Many people on Instagram, as you would guess, have already shared their hypotheses with me, ranging from I agree with you, that was stupid, which it was, to he was triggered and it was the straw that broke the camel's back. So basically sympathizing with him. The latter argument, of course, is absolutely laughably comical, but an argument that many possess nonetheless. These people, like Will, seem to forget the career path that he has chosen, and that being a super rich, powerful celebrity comes with elements of criticism and mockery. It is, unfortunately, part and parcel of a professional who operates in the public eye. Repressing the urge to publicly assault someone for something you don't like is far greater. It's a far greater feat than acting like a bad boy on set. It is, or at least should be, part of the job to suppress emotions that would lead you to slap someone during an award ceremony where a fair portion of the world tunes in to do nothing but validate you anyway. But the real problem behind the story isn't the fact that Will Smith got offended. Not by a country mile, not by a long stretch. He got offended by a professional comedian whose job is to make fun of people and deliver his material in such a way that it's tongue-in-cheek, or it should be tongue-in-cheek. Not mentioning that Will seemed to have visibly enjoyed the joke at first, before obviously being ordered, or at the very least nudged, on stage by the woman he so desperately and so dearly loves that he is willing to share her with other men. Of which, to date, I haven't heard of any news of any of those other men being on the bitter end of Mike Larry's wrath. But I digress. The problem isn't anything of what I've just mentioned. It is in fact the incomprehensible virtue signaling by a man that later that evening brought himself to tears over virtues and values that he himself does not seem to honor or stand for. If your wife and family is indeed worth protecting, honoring, respecting, and defending, being open to share your wife, the mother of your children, with other men doesn't exactly fall within the laundry basket of virtues that a defender and a protector would be known for. Thus, in my view, is the real reason why Will lashed out and projected his emotions and insecurities on a man that did nothing but possibly land a slightly misplaced joke. Many of you would say that he didn't possibly land it, he did land it, but it was a misplaced joke nonetheless. Cowardly, I might add, and for nothing but self-entitled benefit for himself and the half of the wife who he deems to care for, Will Smith chose to carry out those actions. However, this story is nothing but a controversial blimp on an ever-growing societal canvas who incessantly touts, advocates, elevates, and indoctrinates this sort of behavior under the guise of progressivism. May I add that to many of the people defending Will Smith for his despicable actions, those are the same people that insist that words in themselves can be violent. However, in this case, and obviously because it's Will Smith and it's someone that is seen to be in their camp and who they like because, he is the bigger house brand, the bigger Hollywood elite, in this instance, violence isn't even violence. To these people, as it was to Will Smith, there was no better, more elegant, respectable way to get back at Chris Rock. Will had to do a physical act. He had to physically go and assault another man just to send a message. And I agree. Yes, it does send a message. The message is that if you are not content with yourself and your situation and find yourself to be having one of those days whereby the joke is indeed the straw that broke the camel's back, the way to handle that is to physically assault someone, because your feckless feelings and inability to control them takes precedence over comporting yourself in a manner that would be endearing and that will be of a true role model with values that include restraint. To conclude, two things can be true at the same time. I can appreciate and respect a human being for what he has achieved or what she has achieved and for what they have brought to this world and society. Will has indeed brought us many things and he is a good person. But I can also call a human being out for the things that he has done wrong. I do not need to blur the lines between right and wrong just because it is Will Smith. In today's society, adulation seems to have no limits, so long as the person is on your side of the fence, be it politically, racially, and or ideologically. However, the sad reality of our morally bankrupt society today is that compassion has become an empty political weapon that is used to only lionize the self while looking down on others, pretending to be better than them. Compassion has been redefined to mean the fulfillment of the self while pretending to care for others. Compassion used to be a selfless virtue that would be practiced privately or as a community without having to advertise it. Today it's become a selfish virtue that aims to draw more attention to the person giving it than the person receiving it. Now to end, This practice is also slowly becoming more toric. It is now almost an involuntary action to immediately side with impulse, irrationality, feelings, virtue signaling, and meaningless platitudes. Basically, whatever looks good and gives the self merit in a 4x3 post on the gram is what inevitably will be displayed. But not because we in fact believe it, but because people like Will Smith have told us to. But behind closed doors, he is no better than you, and he is most certainly no better than Chris Rock. And that is a fact and a joke that he should maybe slap himself across the face for. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.